All right, hey everybody, Billy Rainford from Direct Motocross here. We got another Zoom video interview. Today, what we're going to do, this one is brought to you by Yamaha Motor Canada. So thanks to Yamaha for always backing up Direct Motocross and the stuff that we do here. We've got, since it is Wednesday is kind of traditionally our women's motocross day. We do our Out of the Blue, which we'll get to that, but our Out of the Blue guy who actually sponsors it is Rick Bradshaw from Schrader Motors, Schraders out there in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. I've got Rick on the interview right now. Rick, how you doing?
Good morning, Billy. I'm doing good. We're doing okay out here. How about you?
Doing all right. Back, our summer looks like it just started yesterday afternoon and now. So we've got screen doors open behind me. We got summer-like weather hitting us now. Finally, it's been brutal here. How about there?
Same thing. Yeah, summer probably yesterday, the first warm day. We had a couple nice days for an afternoon and then crazy winds for a while. And it's been very similar to what you guys have. I talked to a few friends out there and it seems to be consistent across the country. We're all suffering together.
Yeah, except you can't talk to anybody west of the coastal mountains. Everybody over there, they've had a great spring. So now you can make phone calls to BC.
Yeah, well, that's a different country when you cross the mountains. The country always changes, so a little different.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll probably get the rain now, though. Anybody listening to this, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know, and they're good people. So.
All right, so Rick, we got Rick from Schrader. Do you say Schraders or do you say Schrader Motors? Did you say Schraders?
I usually just say Schraders. Schraders, Honda, Yamaha, Suzuki is too much of a mouthful, and who knows? We might add more stuff. I got still chainsaws and stuff now too, so you'd have to add that in. So let's just go with Schraders.
Is that how you say that?
Schraders.
No, the brand.
Steel? I think it's steel. Steel chainsaws.
You said still a second ago.
I know, I said it wrong. I'm from the prairies. We have stills. Okay. It's okay. We're only making COVID creams and antiseptic stuff. There's nothing else being made in stills.
Okay, all right. I gotcha. Okay, so let's back it up here. So we got, like I say, we got Rick Bradshaw. He owns He's up in Yorkton, Saskatchewan. It's kind of I've been there a couple times. You're at a new house, right? I haven't been to your new place.
No, you haven't. Moved about 5 years ago. Yeah, you'll have to come visit.
Yeah, you got to get closer to the main highway.
I know you miss us all the time.
All right, so let's take it way back. I mean, there's lots of stuff to talk about. I mean, you've been involved in this industry for a long time, from the days of the white suits. Of course, we got to joke about that. We'll talk about that. But let's take it way back. I mean, can I ask how old you are?
Yeah, 54.
54 years old. So take it way back. I mean, this is going to be into a different era for a lot of people watching this. It's like, well, actually, a lot of people that watch these are older anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But we're all in the same boat. But how did you get started in motocross, Rick?
Ride a dirt bike out in the field. And a friend of my dad had a dealership, and a friend of my dad's that used to race snowmobiles took me out to a track out of town about 1977. It was in a gravel pit at a farmer's yard, and met the guys there. Kind of a famous local racer named Rick Dawson, who's still a very good friend of mine. First guy to take me to a race in '79, and yeah. That track that I went to then, the people that owned it, still friends with them, and actually the son and the granddaughter both work for me of that facility, and it went 2 years ago. Yeah, so we're and they all still ride bikes, and it goes way back. Gravel pit. You probably rode in one too. That's what we had. It wasn't really a fancy track, but it was somewhere to ride.
Okay, now I have this conversation with a lot of people, and I think it's actually an important kind of aspect of where our sport's going and how it's changed and stuff. I mean, back in those days, that's where it all started. I mean, gravel pits, you got a dirt bike, you went out, and then you kind of progressed to racing. You as a dealer, obviously, you see the beginnings of it. You see people go through their careers and stuff, coming in and shopping and stuff. Has that changed? Like, has our sport, like you say, now it's kind of, there's practice facilities, there are tracks. Is it different? I mean, how are kids getting into the sport these days?
Very true. Certainly more serious people getting into it as a sport, as a family choice or a parent choice, maybe. And this is what my kid's going to do. We're going to ride bikes. We're going to do it properly. We're going to have some training. We're going to get the right equipment. So that's an aspect. But interesting with this, not to jump ahead, but with this COVID, our area around here with so many farms and stuff, we still have places to ride. And with kids not being able to play hockey and not having anything to do, we've seen more parents who rode bikes as kids bringing their kids in and giving them a dirt bike. Maybe with a little bit more equipment than the old, rubber boots that you started in and I started in. But yeah, and they're actually, this grassroots thing has actually started the last 2 months, month and a half, because kids don't have much to do. There's not a lot of sports to do, and there is still a fair bit of dirt that is accessible in our area. You can find a place to ride, even if the riding facilities weren't necessarily open. There was a place to go play. So that's a nice little change. Maybe in 5 or 10 years, we'll have more people with an interest in motorcycling because they actually got to ride bikes as a kid and that they might not have had that opportunity before. But yeah, it's definitely different. Hardcore training, Kendi Lutz, you obviously know her quite well, and other with Danae and with a number of riders that came through here and that took it to the next level and took it very seriously. You got to respect them and really appreciate what they did. But I love the kids coming in with just a big smile on their face, saying it's their first time ever riding a dirt bike, and they just enjoying the sport. So both types.
And I would know, what do you think too? Like you said, Kennedy and Danae, you get into it and you're so serious now. Do you think that affects longevity? Maybe some kids, it's just too much pressure, too much training, too much, like dirt biking. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing here, but it kind of, you get into it because it's fun. And it used to be fun until you got up to the pro levels. You know what I mean? You were still having fun the whole way up when you're kids, but now maybe the fun's gone when they're younger. You know what I mean? Now it's like cracking the whip and stuff.
It can be. I ended up at a track with, not with my parents, but with some older guys who hauled me out to the track and, taught me the ways of the world and hauled me to races. And my parents came and watched once in a while, but it was just fun. And I think it just depends on your level. You've seen it. You've seen that kid that comes out and is winning right away. So they want to win more and they want to do more and they learn and advance. And then all of a sudden, the next class, the higher class, gets a little harder, and what happens when you hit pro. For 85% of them, they don't win anymore. So it's an easy time to say, well, I'm done with the sport. But some of them that have quit just quit because reality kicked in and adulting kicked in, and they have to settle down and do stuff. But some of us that stuck around forever are the guys that just enjoyed going out to the gravel pit and burning some tanks of fuel and having some fun. And we weren't necessarily the fastest guys out there. We just like to do it. So I guess got to keep the fun in there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure it's different a bit, but obviously it's the same but different. There's there's progression and everything. And like you say, you keep it. It's like every sport. You get into it just to give it a try. The next thing you know, you kind of start progressing. It's all progression, and the better you get, the more aggressive and serious about it you get, and that's whatever. So anyway, and like I always joke, behind every champion is a parent that the kids don't get along with anymore.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So there's definitely whips being cracked, and just to get to that next level, what it takes is just I'm always impressed by that, and families that still talk to each other.
Yep. They made it through all that and still kept a little bit of fun, a little bit of sanity, and maybe carried on and advanced. And some of them decided, okay, as a collective, they decided, no, okay, we're done with this. This is the end of it. But I hope they still stay riding. But you and I both know that some of them, the hardcore ones, it's hard. Sometimes it's cold turkey. It's like done, cut off. I don't ride anymore. And then a couple of years later, they start sniffing around the bike shop and thinking that maybe they should have some fun again. But it's tough.
Yeah, it's so funny. That is so true, right? But especially it seems like the kids that quit younger have a hard time coming back to the races right away. They don't want to be at the track unless they're racing, even with injuries and stuff like that too, right? You get injured, you just stay away. Then there are the kids that get injured and still want to hang out with their buddies and stuff. So it's kind of I always find the psychology side of sports, competitive sports, very interesting.
Had a very good conversation with a friend of mine about that on the weekend, but yeah, definitely.
The
thought process is tough.
Yeah, and you can look at, and I don't even know which one is the right one. Like you can tell kids that just love to ride, are they going to be the ones that succeed, or you can see the ones that have to work their butts off, and are they the ones? So it's kind of a mixture, right? So I don't know, like I say, I always try to. That's why I enjoy the amateur side of it so much. I like seeing which kids progress and who we lose in the sport and who stays in. And you see the kids that are winning. It's like, oh, didn't really see that one coming, or maybe you did. Anyway, it's just interesting. But I want to go back. Like, obviously, you've raced at all levels. When you first started, I always ask this question: what was your first race number, and why did you pick your race number?
Oh, number 29. A friend of mine sitting beside me in school when I was filling out that CMA application at I don't know, I think it was probably like grade 8 math or something. And I said, "Oh, I need a number. I don't have a number because I wasn't a team sport guy, so I didn't have a number." And he bellered out, 29 is a good number. So
Mike
I wrote,
Palmetier?
pardon me?
Mike Palmetier, the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie?
Yeah, there you go. See, no idea, none. That's a stick and ball sport, Billy. I don't follow.
My buddy
So
was a goalie.
yeah, so I had number 29, and that was my number. And I'd go over to race in Manitoba as I was coming up, and there was a jerk over there, and it had number 29. I have to put an X on my bike. Hated that jerk. His name's Scotty Harlan, by the way, if you're talking.
He's still number
By the way,
29 in my heart.
yeah, and he's, you know what, and he's one of my best friends. He's a good guy, but we still joke that, yeah, I hated that guy at the other province with 29. But anyway, simple story.
Yeah, I was 145, and then some guy stole my 145. So we had the Preston Petty plate. So you had those plastic numbers that you could move around. So of course we just moved them around. So I became 451 for a year, and all our phone numbers in my area were 451. So I looked terrible. It was a horrible phone number. Terrible. Anyway, I got it back the next
Phone
year.
number. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
I would
so
have been 306 then.
was that?
I would have been 306 then. Oh, yeah. No, I'm good. I'm good.
Okay, well let's since we got you on here, I know you're a couple hours behind us here in Ontario. I know you're opening up your shop there. Are you opening up your shop? How are things going at the shop? Schraders, we're talking here.
Yeah, we really didn't close. Word came down from our provincial government that ATV and boat dealers and such snowmobile dealers have to close. So didn't know what to do. We were already taking everything pretty serious and watching what we did. And a couple dealer friends called the hotline to say, how's the supply? Because they did not close motor vehicle dealers. And we sell street legal motorcycles, which motor vehicle dealer. They also said if you provide services to an essential service, farmers, you don't have to close. So it got a little confusing. A couple phone calls later, we did not have to close. We provide water pumps and ATVs to a lot of farm clients, and we do sell motor vehicles. So we took it, we locked the door and let people in with some rules, but we still let people in. And we did that for probably 2-3 weeks. I closed one Saturday, that was it. Just lacked staff. And after that, we've been going full bore. April was very busy. It was, again, people with used to keeping kids busy playing other sports, but they have access to a dirt bike or access to dirt. They were coming in, and our farm clients, of course, they virtually didn't. I mean, nothing stopped for them. It was straight work. So, and rolling into May, it's been just as busy. We've been swamped. So, and probably more swamped because there's more phone calls, there's more emails, there's Facebook messages, there's Instagram messages. It's trying to figure out how to answer everyone takes more time, but yeah, we're doing okay.
Wow, there's going to be some people listening to this that maybe own dealerships that aren't in such a good loophole situation there. That's, I mean, good for you. That's awesome to hear. How about staffing? Was it easy? Did staff was on board? Anybody say they didn't want to come to work, or was it just fine?
No. I'll start naming names later, but no, kidding. No, they were great. Our staff has been amazing, and you know what? We've got staff that have spouses that work in healthcare, so there were some concerns, but we blocked some areas off and kind of controlled where you walked and what you did. And one person, Danae, had to go home due to daycare. Her daycare shut down, so she went home with her 2 little ones. So we miss having her here with all of our accessory business going on. But everyone else has been here full time and running. And you know what, I do respect that there's many dealers and many businesses that are suffering through this. And we certainly suffered the first few weeks when it was first announced. March, we were way down. I didn't know whether I should be closing, laying off staff. I didn't know what direction to go. But as things turned around, like I said, we're we're doing okay now. So
Huh.
hopefully it carries on.
Well, that's good to hear. Good to hear. And obviously, Schraders and you have always been behind our Out of the Blue column, which is going to be out today. Jeff McConkey always did that, but now Jensen Amiot has taken the reins there. So that's kind of fun that we can keep it going. That's for sure. Speaking of which, who was it? Was it who came out with Out of the Blue?
I think I did, but I don't know if I did or not. I don't know.
We'll give it to you. I know it wasn't me, so we'll give it to you.
I think it was a Yamaha Blue thing, and I think Yamaha actually sponsored something to do with women's to start with. And I said, you should do an out of the blue column, and it was more the blue plates and the blue bikes at that time. Went together.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. We'll give it to you, Rick, for sure, for sure. I tell everybody it was you.
Thanks, buddy.
Okay, no, yeah, well, we talked about a few things there that I wanted to hit on, but certainly let's, I mean, coming up through the 1980s racing and stuff like that, who was your main competition coming up there in Saskatchewan and moving into the pros and stuff back in your day?
Well, of course, Kevin Ferguson was the pro of pros when I was in the amateur stuff. He had Team Yamaha support. He was on that big Team Yamaha poster that we'd all like to find a copy of. You know which one I'm talking about. And that Scotty Lockhart and a whole bunch of guys on it. And Brent Shurey was coming up at that time, and a fellow by the name of Wayne Jones, and there were quite a few guys that you idolized as coming up as an amateur. 83 when I hit expert at that time. Remember, it was expert. We weren't pro. We were expert. Would have been friends of mine moved up with me. A guy by the name of Darwin Jans, James Boyenko, Don Stinsky, of course, my riding partner Rick Dawson, Blair Morgan's older brother Grant Morgan. We were all about the same age, and we all moved up about that same time. Mix it up with the seasoned guys, and most of us didn't. Reality was Brent Shurey was a leap above us, and rightfully so. Brent was a hardcore rider and rode in the States, and the rest of us just sort of like to hang around Saskatchewan, in Alberta or Manitoba race once in a while. But still all a good group of guys. That whole era was fun, and we got to see all the fast guys from Alberta would come over once in a while. Ross would show up with 2 bikes crammed in a pickup truck, and Zoli would show up, and both senior and junior, and Darren Shruga, and a whole bunch of guys out of that Alberta area. So, but luckily, I'm still friends with, you know how it is with old moto friends. You start in the late 70s, early 80s, and you're still friends with them now. You bump into them sometime, and you can tell stories and relive some glory days. You have a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah. See, you're lucky, obviously, being in the dealership side of it. Me doing what I do, I get to travel around. So yeah, it's funny that people, and especially with the internet, it looks like it's here to stay. In fact, I was just chatting with some guys that I used to race with back in the day. Yesterday, some names came up, and there was some bit of bickering going on our Instagram page. It was kind of fun, but guys that I used to race with way back in the day as well. But anybody, I mean, Ross Peterson, obviously the winningest rider we've ever had. Well, I don't think anybody will ever win more than he did. Do you have any? I always ask people if they have any fun Ross stories. Like you say, he came over, and I'm sure he came over with his bikes and a thing and just cleaned up or whatever. But do you have any Ross stories?
No, just lapping me at the 35-minute mark at the Austin National, and I was probably a squid because it was Austin knee-deep stand, and I was tired, and I was probably taking multiple lines. And when he lapped me, he put his handlebar on my back and knocked me to the ground, and I think he yelled at me, but it's okay. I didn't knock him down, so at least I didn't crash him. But other than that, no. Ross would come over, and he was pretty, at the local race. He was actually a pretty friendly guy. He used to hang out in Saskatchewan a bit. And he didn't have a lot of pressure. He'd come over here and pretty much do what he wanted. So, and that was the old days of contingency money. So he probably went home with, waiting for a check from Yamaha or Suzuki for $1,200-$1,500, which wasn't a bad weekend back in the 80s. So.
That's amazing. So not many people can say they took a Ross Peterson handlebar to the back, though. So that's kind of that's a badge of honor.
Badge of honor, yeah. Austin sand track, yeah.
Yeah, I went looking for that. I pulled off at the Austin turnoff, and I couldn't find where it was. I just kind of pulled off, and there's like a little rest area there. I kind of sat and I don't know. I took a picture of something and said, "Well, I'm in Austin. Where's this sand track everybody talks about?"
It was a hell of a track, but oh well, it was fun.
That Austin versus Gopher Dunes.
Um, Austin probably just back in the day was obviously less um, manicured, right? So it just got rough. And of course, motos were 45 minutes. So it was just ugly. I remember guys stopping for fuel at the Yamahas. I think the tanks were too small, so they had to top up with fuel the last lap or two. The fast guys, us slow guys, we didn't twist the throttle enough. We were okay. We kept enough fuel.
You're getting much better mileage.
Yeah, better mileage. I was conserving energy. Me and the bike.
Rick, what was the best national number you ever got?
None.
You never
I
did?
never got national point. No national points back then. You remember we're top 10. And I only rode a handful of nationals and finished, 30th. So no points for 30th, maybe 40th. Who knows what I got? They didn't. I don't even think they posted after the top 20. So, but we circulated, put it that way. Antler Edmonton National was a lot more fun. I remember riding that after Austin. I enjoyed the Antler Lake track a lot more. It was, more of a legitimate national. But I only rode a handful of nationals.
Did you ever go around the Supercross races?
Stadium cross. We had arena cross in Regina and Saskatoon. No, Regina and Winnipeg. And we had a stadium race in Saskatoon for a couple of years, and it was good money, big purses, and circulated. Tried not to hit the ground, and of course, what it was like. We showed up with stock suspension and bounced around on a arena cross track with zero training. It was part of the show, I guess.
Yeah. I guess back depending on the level you're at, we didn't really worry too much about that. But show up and give it a go. Not understand why it was so difficult. But okay, hey, speaking of the CMA, and who came? Why was it called senior? By the way, intermediate was called senior. Whose idea was that? Was that your idea?
No, yeah, I want to say it was British. Blame a lot of that CMA history stuff, the old stuff. I can go with it being British because I think they took a lot of stuff from the ACU.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Now, speaking of CMA, now you stayed involved with these guys, and you've been an official and everything like that. Been involved with it. Tell us how that started. Give us the CMA story.
It's actually a funny story. I put on a race in Yorkton, a stadium cross race in front of our fairground grandstands in, I think, 86, but I don't know. Fair Board came to me, maybe 85, but anyway, we built a track and advertised it, and CMA, I phoned this CMA place to get it sanctioned, and they told me I couldn't do it as a supercross. I had to call them a stadium cross, so I grumbled and changed the posters to a stadium cross, and put this thing on, and I think the CMA vice president at the time, Bob St. Goddard out of Winnipeg, a very good official, he came down for that race. We got a lot of big riders at it, and I remember Bob, I'm doing registration. I'd never put on a race before in my life, so we got people doing a registration, everything's going, and Bob does a nice little track inspection, everything's good. He's very happy with everything. We got it's during the fair. We got thousands of spectators coming, and Bob says, "So, who do you have lap counting?" Oh, lap counter. We have to do that. I just assumed that magically happened and people showed up and did that. So I had to run around and get my girlfriend, now wife, Maureen, and her mom and a few people. By the way, you're lap counting all day. Yeah, I owe some favors for that. But a couple years later, I got voted in as a rider rep provincially. And then there was a little bit of headbutting amongst the two top people in the region. And as a rider rep, I stuck in and tried to get everyone to be friends. Seems to be I'm still doing that now. Anyway, did that, and I was about 87. And at the end of 87, the elections came up, and they said, "Why don't you run for region chairman, president, whatever they called it?" I was just a 20-something-year-old motocrosser, but I did. And at that time, they changed the bylaws, so the region chairman became sat on national board. So instantly, I went from knowing nothing about national organizations right to the national board, and learned from some very good people there how boards work and how people run stuff, and went from there. Somewhere in there, I got a ref license too. I can't remember, but whenever we needed one, I could at least chip in.
Nice, nice. I always like talking to guys, the guys who've been around for a while and kind of have seen the progress and change and everything. We did that long interview with Carl Bastido. I mean, you want to talk about a guy who's seen everything on every side of the sport, man. I don't know if you listened to that one or watched it or whatever, but I just basically said, all right, Carl, and go. Tell us what you know. And it was just I thought it was amazing. If you go back, if you haven't watched that one, actually our website was down, so I'll put that back up on our website. So if you didn't happen to see it, you can watch that. But yeah, super interesting. And same with you. I mean, we've watched things change hands, national series, Motocross of Nation stuff, all that kind of stuff. So I mean, you've kind of seen it all. He's pretending he's popular now. He's waving as if somebody's behind him or ahead of him. But yeah, so I won't keep you here too long. I know you got to go close some deals. ABC, Rick, ABC. What's that? Yeah, sorry, Zoom gave me a warning here, but
Me too.
if I threw you on the spot here and asked you to tell us the greatest race you ever saw, would you be able to tell us?
No.
Nothing popped into your head just now? Nothing?
No, nothing. No. I can't think of one that stands out. Saw lots of many good moments. Of course, for 13 years or whatever it was, more than that, 16 years, however many years we officiated Toronto Supercross and Vancouver there for a few years. When you're on the floor, you don't see anything. You really don't. When you're down there officiating, you don't really watch it. You go home and watch it on TV, but you don't see it. So I'm sure some of those were good. But I honestly can't, nothing jumps out. I was either, on the track with them, and I think I've seen some amateur stuff, local things that I really enjoyed watching as maybe as a rider or as a fan, I guess. But I can't think of a pro level race that jumps out at all. How about you? What's your favorite?
Oh, I got lots. We're not. I'm asking the questions here, Rick.
Oh, right away. Can't turn it around on you. Okay.
Yeah, no, not today. But hey, you've always had a rider, a marquee rider. We're talking there a lot of WMX riders. Kennedy Lutz, Danae Giroux, Danae Arnett. Now, who do you got right now? Who do we keep an eye on coming out of the Schraders factory there?
We don't have a lot of top riders at the moment. Local riders more than anything. Of course, once we sort of went big with Sean Moffenbauer and with Danae with the Yamaha team. Prior to that, we had a rider named Dustin Pretty and Gary Daku, who is actually, Gary Daku goes back about 20 years, but he is actually in charge of Skidoo brand racing worldwide. Kind of he's from Regina, but he lives in Minnesota now, and a few other riders like that. Rolling forward, we had the Biro brothers. Who did very well. You remember them qualifying at Regina right up top, in top 10. And Kennedy and Danae were standouts. We helped Talon Unger out of Alberta last year a little bit. Rolling into this year, I've got a lot of local riders who, some up and comers, some families, there are some pro level riders, but no one that's going to attack the nationals necessarily. Like to say, we're helping out Lawrence Ham in Manitoba, and he's starting a women's team, and we're trying to help him because Lawrence goes way back with racing and everything. And we, again, one of those connections from the 80s, and he's trying to build the women's side of the sport, and I still believe strongly in that. So when he came to me, we did what we could. I guess that's about it.
Okay. Yeah, actually, I put a picture of it. Turns out it wasn't him, but Kyle Biro kind of came to, he's an up-and-coming kid. We all had our eyes on him. Then he had that horrible bad luck at the Transcan. I mean, I got some pretty emotional photos of him after his bike just quit on him and stuff like that. And then disappeared, just decided to turn his back on the sport. And I spoke briefly to his mom, but do you know what Kyle's doing these days?
They're back in Yorkton. They kept one bike. The younger brother, Jarrett, rides occasionally, just goes out and has a smile on his face. And Kyle rode for the first time in probably 4 years. This spring, he's been out at the track, and I saw someone whipping a bike through the air, and I went, "Who the heck's that?" And it was Kyle. He's gone to school to be a heavy-duty mechanic. He's adulting. Got a house, I think, and and working towards a life. And again, like we just talked about, thinking about, at least threw a leg over a bike first time in 4 years, and thinking, can he go out and have fun without trying to win everything? Because he was just, they were so competitive. They trained in the States, and you saw them at many of the mini O's and stuff, but that was their thing. And now they're just enjoying some family time and camping a little bit and relaxing and being human.
Well, good for him. I mean, it's nice to hear that he went to school. He's got a good job. He's making some money, buying a bike and stuff like that. So that's cool to hear. And it's funny that the older you get too, when you leave the sport and try to come back, it's just frustrating. You kind of think of what you should be doing. And I'm going to try to do a little bit more riding this season and stuff like that on Jeff McConkey's bike. So we're actually working on getting that to a place right now. I don't have a vehicle to pull anything. I've got a minivan, and without a trailer hitch. So I'm in a bit of a situation. So I got to get trailer hitch and stuff put on. But you still get out quite a bit on your track?
No, I haven't ridden this year yet. I rode a few times last year, which was good, at a YZ 450. This year, just springtime is just so busy here that I haven't had time to really go out and enjoy anything. I did buy a bike from Kim Hood, a 1980 YZ 250 two-stroke about 3 years ago, and I got out in it once last year too, and was surprised at how much fun I had riding that old bike out there. Put on as old a gear as I could find that still fit, and tried to be retro. Even found an open face helmet. Wore that for a while. Hope that didn't hit my face. But if I can get out a handful of times and have some fun, that puts a smile on your face. You know what it's like. You do 2-3 laps and you're completely whipped, and then the third time you're out, you can do 7 and you feel like a real hero. But you're still tired. But if I can ride a street bike every so often, and other than that, that's my biking.
Nice. All right, Rick. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and I also really appreciate your support for women's motocross in Canada and everything, and the Out of the Blue column we do here at Direct Motocross over the years, man. So I really, it's always fun to talk with you. I haven't crashed in your basement in a long time, though, so that's have to check that off the list again one of these days. Check out your new place. But anything you want to say, or anybody you want to thank or mention about the sport in general? Anything? I don't know. Anything you want to say while we have the airtime here before we let you
go? Just thank you, Billy. No, it's it's nice to have some professional journalism in Canada, and I appreciate what you do. It's a lot of effort, a lot of work. It's hard to figure out what journalism is nowadays. Anyone you don't need a pen anymore, and someone that has the right questions and is in the right place at the right time to follow up on stuff. I appreciate what you do, and the Out of the Blue column, yeah, I might have come up with a name, but you came up with a push, and Jeff loved it. Appreciate all the work he did with it, and and Jensen's carrying on that. On the women's side, my feelings. I learned that years ago. I first hired, I think Amber Drew worked here, probably first back. I won't say how long ago that is. Amber will be embarrassed, but it was a long time. And then Danae after that, and having women work in motorsports and seeing the reaction of families coming in when you're selling bikes to them, and they're worried about it being dangerous, and you point to the Danae at the counter and say, that's our women's national motocross channel, and you saw the attitude change, and that's kind of why I believe in some parity. We need to have both sexes out there racing. I got more women riding street bikes now than ever, and probably in some categories more than men, and trail bikes and a big part of the population. So I appreciate that push, and again, carrying on the media tradition for you of talking about motor, and that's important.
All right, Rick. Well, what's the number one thing on behind you there in the backdrop there? What's the best piece of memorabilia you have there?
My daughter's grad pictures, probably. my trophies are packed away in corners, and I don't have that many. Maybe some road racing ones, but I don't have a lot from moto. But I don't know. We got a couple of Yamaha awards over in the corner there, so I thank Yamaha for those. Like those. Since Yamaha is sponsoring this round, we'll say, hey, Yamaha, thanks.
All right. Right now, speaking of memorabilia, you're also doing this on a Blackberry.
You had to mention that, didn't you? There's going to be 5 other people going, yes. And there's going to be everyone else going, what?
I just like the I just like the way it types better.
I do.
All
And you
right,
know what?
Rick.
I think I just like being weird. According to my wife, I just like being a little bit different than everyone else. So,
All right.
you
Well,
know, when I was a kid, hey, growing up, you know, all the other kids were playing stick and ball sports. I had a dirt bike. It was like 3 other friends had dirt bikes. Those are probably the 3 same guys that have Blackberries now, or at least
yeah,
yep.
good point. All right,
So,
Rick. Well,
so
let's end it there. Just again, like you said there, thank you very much to Yamaha for being behind our stuff that we do here at Direct Motocross. Schrader Motors, Schraders out there, schradermotors.com. Make sure you check it out. Go say hi to Rick when you're out there in Saskatchewan. Check him out online. And man, good luck. And hopefully we see you somewhere at the races soon.
I hope so. You know, hopefully there's some racing and you're passing through sometime and my couch or spare bed is ready. And we'll see you soon.
Okay, Rick. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Erica. And of course, Claire's still in grade. Hey, what are you doing? Starting to record.
Oh, you saw that.
Yeah, I saw that. Bastard. Yeah. But I see my youngest isn't on the wall yet because she's going into grade 12 next year. So I saved a little spot over there for her.
Okay, this will be your outtakes at the end there. Let's see the wall there. Come on.
Okay.
Oh, let's take a look at the shop.
Okay.
Take us
Quick
for a
look at the
spin.
shop. Okay. Can I switch this around? No, probably not.
You got to just guess. Oh, there's Kennedy Lutz, #1 jersey back there.
Oh yeah, yeah, there. Wall of shame. And yeah. Showroom, probably jerky.
Yeah, that's all right.
Look. Steel. Or steel. I guess you have to say it with a German accent. Don't you? Steel. Moto area is still the moto area. And I don't know, street bikes, and then Doggo World.
Do you actually have a slingshot? What do you have in there? What was that vehicle?
Yeah, there's a slingshot in here. Selling it for someone.
Okay.
And the rest of it. But actually with quite a few holes in the quad area because it's been busy. Haven't really been able to replace everything. That's the other thing we're going to run into is some of the companies aren't going to release product in June like they normally do. I've heard, you know, usually mid-June you get 2021 moto and stuff, and I've heard that more stuff here. I've heard that things might be delayed, might not be an announcement until September because there's some of the factories are shut down or slowed down, and yeah, might suck.